money as a language is really about time-shifting value and resources. It allows you to bring value from the future into the present and to take value from the past and extend it into the future. And so it really is a temporal conversation, a time-shifting of value and resources. But it also allows us to do space shifting. Now, Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies allow us to do both with much greater liquidity and velocity than ever before. And that in itself challenges the assumptions. So if you think about it, we're used to money being liquid, but we're also used to money having a certain amount of viscosity. In fact, we depend on its viscosity in order to make sense of our world. If money is in fact instantly transferable anywhere in the world, that violates a lot of the safety guards, if you want, or it violates a lot of the assumptions we have about how money works, because zero friction money doesn't make sense to us. We're used to money that has viscosity and friction built in. And in fact, we depend on that viscosity to achieve certain results, to achieve certain goals. So the viscosity itself becomes part of the operating process of money, and it provides us security by delaying the time distribution of money. You can stop a check for 5 days because of viscosity, and that allows you to take more risk in the present with that check than you would otherwise, because the viscosity of the money allows you to have a second chance.
That's interesting, because now I'm thinking of latency, and now I'm thinking there are different kinds of the viscosity issue. That's a great word to use. Okay. So there is sometimes this human imposed viscosity, right? I might choose to save money. In fact, I am a bit of a hoarder, if truth be known. It's because I want freedom. I want the freedom to think, and I can't think if I'm worried about things. So I save my money because I need a safety net, a comfort zone where I feel that I can exist and be who I am. That also has hindered me a lot. Like, I don't have a car. I live actually a very austere existence, but I like this way because now I get to just as much as I can. Whereas for somebody else, that may be completely different. So do you think, is there anything interesting to say about the human imposed latency and then the inefficiencies in, for example, the banking network, where a check gets held up, for example? Because there's also this phenomenon of check writing, this phenomena in finance where, so they take the money, yes, and then they hold your check for 3 days, and then they go and gambling on the Forex, the largest trading market in the world.
That's part of the thing. It's really about turning bugs into features. And you see this happen again and again. The idea that you take something that is a delay imposed by the medium, by the viscosity of the system, and then you use that as a feature, as a security control. You try to exploit the viscosity to use it to protect yourself against sudden and unanticipated moves. And then you essentially outsource your security to the viscosity, and that makes the viscosity greater. It also allows people to take advantage of differences in the flow of money or in the viscosity of money in the form of arbitrage. I'll give you another example. In the last decade, we've seen an explosion in supply chain integration. Supply chain integration, meaning that in the past, if you wanted to order 10,000 jet fan widgets from Boeing, you would have to do months of negotiating and contracts and things like that. And today, in many systems, these are completely integrated based on enterprise resource planning, ERP systems, whereby you can put in a purchase order and you can ask for 1,000 jet fan widgets. And literally within maybe 10 or 15 minutes, boxes of jet fan widgets are getting loaded onto a truck somewhere in a warehouse and getting shipped to you. And in the past, this process, by taking months, could be controlled. So the viscosity of that process actually gave some advantages. It gave you opportunities for operational security. 3 or 4 people had to touch it. Each of those people could interject their own judgment. They could notice that something was wrong. They could put a hold on it. They could delay it. They could reverse it. So we took advantage of the viscosity to introduce these controls. Now there are no controls. So now imagine that you are, for example, running a system that's not properly secured, and a hacker gets in and they start ordering 100,000 widgets from every single one of your suppliers. Now, 15 minutes later, trucks are rolling. It doesn't matter if you intended these orders or not. All that matters is whether you had the credit to support them. It doesn't matter that if these actually do arrive at your factory, you can't do anything with them, and you're going to make a substantial loss because 10 minutes after this order went through, or someone mistyped, and instead of 1,000 widgets, they ordered 1,000,000 widgets, because they didn't realize that the unit number was a pallet of 1,000, not a single unit. And so suddenly you've got 1,000,000 widgets. But 10 minutes later, these are rolling in a truck. There goes the viscosity as a feature. And because we've worked on it as a bug and taken it out of the system, automated everything. And now we have to reintroduce controls. We have to put separation of duties and multiple authorizations and human authorizations, but also automatic systems like algorithms that check and see, is this an order of magnitude greater than any order you've ever placed before? Maybe pop up a warning and say, are you sure you want 1,000,000 widgets? Because you've never ordered 1,000,000 widgets before. Right. So we've gone from bug to feature to bug again. And with money, it's the same thing. Viscosity of money was a bug. We made it faster and faster and faster. But at the same time, people come to rely on the viscosity as a security mechanism, are afraid of losing that and the multiple layers of recourse that offers, and have not yet developed new mechanisms like, for example, in cryptocurrencies, multi-signature, pick your own counterparty for escrow and validation. New ways of doing it that do not require viscosity, that can operate at that speed, but are just as secure, even more secure. And so we're kind of in limbo at the moment. We've taken away the viscosity, but we haven't actually yet built some of the mechanisms to protect people from.
Well, we have to codify it. We have to ask the what is it question. And we have to say, right, what does it mean, transmit value across the world? So one of the things that you've drawn our attention to is my ability to execute at range, my ability to execute my intentions at range. So in the old days, if I wanted to move something, I physically had to be near to it. I had to be sufficiently strong enough, or I had to be able to collaborate with others such that we could move it together. Now, if I want to move some copper from Ghana and some plastic from Taiwan to China, the flight here to London, all I have to do is buy an iPhone with one click on Amazon. And suddenly I've set about a chain reaction. And of course, it's not just me, because that infrastructure wouldn't have existed if I didn't have a shared interest. Maybe we should talk about mimesis as well, mimetics, that I want something because you want something. That then manifests to bring about a world where we're all engaged and in this activity of constant movement. And yes, it makes sense to us because we're embedded inside of the thing itself. But when you talk about viscosity, I start thinking of music. I start thinking of cadences. Why do certain things get clogged up? Because it's also an opportunity for fraud too. When you get these inefficiencies in the system, it provides an incentive for somebody somewhere to take advantage of that inefficiency in the system. And they face a choice. It can either help or hinder. It can either be moved by fear, or they can be moved by, for want of a better word, love. I'm meaning that in a very sort of general way. There are two basic emotions, I think, that really move us, and one is fear and the other is love. And they either just want to help, or they want to hurt. And that's how I feel about the modern banking system. These people got cozy and they seek to make profit from the inefficiencies, that music that I'm talking about, in our society. And I think they don't know how to ask for help. And one of the things that we have to be careful with frauds is that what they steal from us is actually our time. And what they punish is the hopeful. Because look at right now what's happening with empty GOCs. Okay, you have a microcosm of a macrocosm. You've got a mirror image, a recursive image of what is going on out there in the world at large, happening within the Bitcoin sphere on a miniature scale, where we have a CEO that is prevaricating, that is, yes, he's using the truth to hurt people. Okay, because he hasn't lied. If you look at the press releases very carefully, they're very well worded. He is very careful not to lie. In doing so, what he does is he keeps you up all night waiting for the news, and he always releases it at the very, very last minute. There's little to no evidence that anyone else is working for this company other than this guy. And what he does is the victims in all of this, the customers, are clinging on to hope. They want to believe that everything's going to be okay, that they're going to get their money out. And ultimately, the theft is still happening. I don't know whether the coins are there. I don't know any more than anybody else. But in my opinion, the theft is taking place right beneath your eyes as you allow yourself to be concerned. What frauds take away our attention, that's what fuels them. They don't know how to ask for help. When they move, nothing comes of the movement. They are stuck in negative cycles of behavior that there is no hope for them. They have the desire. They don't have the hope to move out of it. And so, yeah, so maybe I'm just bringing into summary some of the thoughts that we've just said. But, and I say I do that because a lot of people ask the question, what's philosophy good for? And the thing is, you've got to know when to stop the thought. You've got to know when to say, okay, let's step back. And what does this mean? Well, what this means is that if you work in a bank or you work for a government organization, you need to start asking your boss hard questions. You need to start managing upwards. And if you don't like the answers that you get, if you feel like your time is being wasted, if you feel like the practical decisions that you are forced to make on a day-to-day basis are not helpful to society as a whole, to the world as a whole, to other people, you need to get up, turn around, and walk out the door. Preferably without any explanation whatsoever, because the more time you sit there, the more you're facilitating them. Right? You are actually fueling it. And what you're doing is you're punishing the innocent. Actually, Ayn Rand has a quote. I'm not a big fan of Ayn Rand, by the way, in case anyone wonders, but she did have a great quote where she said, when you pity the frauds, when you pity these people, what you end up doing is punishing the innocent. And what that does, that punishment of the innocent, it's all. Let me continue this thought. When you punish the innocent, you set about a condition that necessitates communication and collaboration. The reason at the moment that the elites, the world powers, the mega banks, the reason they're in control is because they can collaborate better than the people on the ground. Because the information in their systems travels much more efficiently. People understand each other because they're brought together by the greed motive. This constant need to hoard, pathological desire to have more and more of something. I feel like we need to stop blaming the banks and just start looking at ourselves and our role in it. What can I do now? Never mind what has happened. There'll be plenty of time later once we set about a new paradigm to look back and historians can go through the correspondence and work out who did what and when. But for now, the only question that really matters is what you're going to do about it. And that's what I think that we can take away from these observations.
CryptoKit is the world's first Chrome browser Bitcoin wallet. It's the easiest, fastest Bitcoin wallet payment system. With a simple one-click install, it takes just seconds to get your wallet set up. And because CryptoKit finds the address and payment for you, there's no more fussing around or tab switching. CryptoKit is more than just a wallet. It comes with a preloaded PGP encrypted social network, news feeds from Reddit and Google, and up-to-date charts from exchanges. Finally, CryptoKit Directory allows you to make two-click payments with any of the BitPay merchants. Once you install CryptoKit, you won't need anything else. For more information or to download CryptoKit, visit CryptoKit.com.